Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Okay, once again, all you citizens of the world, welcome back to Live from the Heartland for October 10th. That's for the week of October 10th. And I'm really glad to bring on now a friend, Les Begay. He is the co-founder of Indigenous Peoples Day. It is approaching once again. In the old days, we called it by the name of Italian explorer. We welcome in the renaming of it to Indigenous Peoples Day. How about telling us a little bit about the origins of this, Les?
Thank you, Michael, for having me on. I'd like to start off by saying that the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed it in 1977 to honor Indigenous people of the Americas. In 1989, South Dakota was the first state to endorse it. And in 1992, Berkeley, California was the first city to endorse it. Since that time, there are 18 states and the District of Columbia that recognize Indigenous Peoples Day, and over 220 cities. Of those 18 states, only 10 have replaced Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. It shares the date. Illinois is one of those states, but it's got a little twist to it. Indigenous Peoples Day in Illinois is the last Monday of September. In 2019, Governor Rauner declared the last Monday of September as Indigenous Peoples Day. He did that without any consultation with the Native community in the state. And surprisingly enough, the sponsor of that bill was an Italian-American legislator. Now, they did that to protect Columbus Day. And so since that time, we've been trying to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day in the state. And the pushback is, well, you already have Indigenous Peoples Day. What do you need two for? So they did that to protect the state. And that same legislator last year, or 2 years ago, I'm sorry, passed a bill in the state that was unanimous by both the Senate and the House that now October is Italian American Heritage Month. So they pretty much blocked October for Indigenous Peoples Day in the state of Illinois. So I don't think it's going to change for us to have it on the Columbus Day in the state at all. The city, there's been a resolution since 2019 to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. It's been killed in committee since then. Last year, Alderwoman Haddon called me up and said that she was going to have the resolution read at City Council for approval. And then at the last minute, and by last minute, I mean the night before, I got a call from her office saying that the city would not do that. The attorneys looked at the verbiage and they wouldn't allow it based on forced removal and genocide. So that's been tabled again. The mayor did write a proclamation for it, but it was for the Friday before the second Monday of October. So his support has dwindled. When he was a Cook County commissioner, he was a very strong advocate of Indigenous Peoples Day. Since he's become mayor, he's really done nothing with the community, and he's done nothing to push forward that Indigenous Peoples Day. If he was as supportive now as he was then, I would have hoped that we would have had this passed by now. And when I first started was Cook County to try and get it changed for Cook County. I only needed 9 votes of the 17. I've only had 5, and there's a huge turnover now with new members. So that's kind of tabled for another year. So here we are in 2025, and it's not recognized in the city. It's not recognized in the county, but it is in the state, just on the wrong day.
What would be the correct day?
The correct day would be the second when they celebrate Columbus Day. Now, I've said over.
I don't know what day that is, but I probably blocked it.
It's second Monday of October. I've said over and over that two things. This is not anti-Italian, it's anti-Columbus. And the second thing is, we have to have it on that day, and we would share it with Italian American Heritage Day, but not Columbus Day. That's the oppressed celebrating the oppressor, and we just can't do it. It's like saying that we're going to celebrate Juneteenth, but we're going to make it in April, and we're going to celebrate Juneteenth with Confederate Memorial Day. It just doesn't work, and I'm not sure why no one can see that, but that's the case.
Can you give us an update on the Columbus statues being removed? Are they still somewhere else? They got taken down under the last mayor, which I thought was good.
Right. One of them is going to be be put up in a new facility. It's going to be the Italian American Heritage Museum somewhere in the suburbs, south suburbs. I was asked about that after it was already agreed upon by the mayor, and I said, as long as it's not in Grant Park or in the city, if they want to put it in their own museum, that's fine. But I did push back at the mayor and say, if you're having discussions about putting the Columbus statues back up, we should be in that conversation. It shouldn't just be the mayor and the Italian Americans. We should be put in that conversation.
Up here in our neighborhood, we have Potawatomi Park, and we have a guy named Walcott. There's a street named Walcott, and that was he was the Indian agent for this area. So I had some people. Actually, there was a person on the show recently from England talking about that issue, and just talking about our heritage of Native people in this community or in this area in Chicago. And I wonder if you would like to talk a little bit about the Native community here in the Chicago area, anything historical or where things are at today, who's living where. Used to be a lot of Native people up in Uptown. That's dispersed some. What can you fill us in on?
You're right. There was a large community in the Uptown area where the old American Indian Center was, and that had been there for many years. And when it was first established there in the late 60s, that's when there was, right after the Removal Act, where Native people were put into the 5 cities, and Chicago was one of them. At that time, the center was of more importance because there was different services that Native people couldn't get anywhere else, and they went to the center. Since that time, the new center is in Albany Park, and the community itself has spread throughout Chicago, so we're not in the Uptown area as much. There's probably more in Albany Park now, but it's still not what it was like in the Uptown area. There's a talk with the mayor's office. There's an engagement council that Mayor Lightfoot started when she was in office with the Native community. It's really nothing more than a pat on the back. Here, I'm working with the Native community, but she really wasn't, and neither is this mayor. But there's talk in the council now about changing Indian boundary to a different name. Because Indian boundary, if you don't know, it's when a treaty of 1833 was, they moved the Potawatomi to where now Indian Boundary Park is, and that was literally the boundary. You couldn't pass that without a government agent saying it was okay to do so. And to me, there's a bad connotation with that, and we need to name it something else. We're looking at to making that change.
I apologize for saying Potawatomi Park. It was Indian Boundary. They're both close to each other.
Yeah.
Les Begay, we only have a couple minutes left. I'm wondering if you could share any information on where people would find out more about Native American affairs, what newspapers there might be or websites, and then anything on the administration, this current administration's impact on Native issues and people.
Good online source is Native News Online. It's free. A good local source is the Newberry Library and the Gitchigama Museum, which used to be Mitchell Museum.
I was going to say, how do you spell Gitchigama, but I could spell Mitchell and find it.
And also on Monday, which is Indigenous Peoples Day, they are sponsoring a powwow, which is free, at Evanston Township High School from 4 to 8. So that would be a good place to go if you want to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day as well.
That's on the 13th, Monday the 13th
Correct.
at Evanston
Correct.
High School.
Yes.
Okay. Well, any words on the impact of the current administration and any of their policies on Native people?
They cut back education, which was a treaty obligation. They cut back money for healthcare, which is a treaty obligation, considerably. So, and also some green policies that the tribes have had, which is primarily solar energy. The funding that's been cut back on that has really stopped that development, as well as healthcare and education.
I saw that he took money from Haskins College. I imagine a number of Native schools have been deprived of federal funds that were promised.
Absolutely. There's about 12 throughout the country, and Haskell was one of them. Yeah.
Okay, brother, I appreciate you coming on. Everybody remember that Indigenous Peoples Day will be celebrated here in the Chicago area at Evanston Township High School on Monday the 13th, a couple days after this show goes up. And we hope some people will go check it out. Les, we want to thank you again for reaching out. And we've had you on the show a few times before, and we'll have you on again. Whenever you've got something you think ought to be shared with the masses of listeners and viewers, let us know, and you're on.
Okay, thank you. Always a pleasure, Michael.
All right, brother.